Here are the video solutions for AQA Functional Skills Level 2 Maths. This is paper 1, which is the non-calculator paper, and this is a specimen paper. So let's kick off with question number 1. What is 3/5 as a decimal? Well, if you don't know this automatically, what I would do is turn the 3/5 into tenths. Now, the number on the bottom has doubled, so for an equivalent fraction we need to double the top as well, so that is 6/10. And when we've got it as tenths, then that tells us that 6 is going to be in the column immediately after the decimal point, so that is 0.6. Question number 2, we want to work out 7 minus 2.875. So 7 take away 2.835. Now, probably the easiest thing to do is write 7 as 7.000. Okay, and let's put a decimal point in our answer box as well. Now 0 minus 5 can't be done, so we need to borrow from the column to the left, but that is a 0, and the column to the left of that is a 0, so we need to borrow from this 7. This 7 becomes a 6, this 0 becomes a 10. But we've reduced this 10 to a 9 so that we can turn this 0 into a 10, and then this 10 is going to become a 9 so that I can turn this 0 into a 10. 10 take away 5 is 5, 9 minus 3 is 6, 9 minus 8 is 1, 6 take away 2 is 4. So the answer is 4.165. Work out the size of angle X in this triangle. Well, hopefully we know that angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. So if I subtract 36 and another 36 from 180, I'm done, but it's probably a lot easier if first of all I just add 36 plus 36. 36 plus 36 is, well, 6 plus 6 is 12, 2 carry the 1, 3 plus 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. So 180, I'll just write over here where I've got a bit of blank space, take away 72. 0 minus 2 can't be done, so let's borrow from the 8. 8 becomes 7, 0 becomes 10. 10 take away 2 is 8, 7 minus 7 is 0, 1 minus nothing is 1. So X is 108 degrees. Plot minus 3, 2 on the grid. So we need to remember that the first coordinate is the horizontal one. So we're going across to negative 3, which is here, and then vertically up to 2. So this is the point minus 3, 2. Question number 5, 25 minus 2 times 3 squared. Well, this is a question which is all about BIDMAS, the order of operations. So I don't have any brackets, but I've got some indices, the 3 squared. So I need to do that first of all. So 3 squared, that means 3 times by 3, which is 9. So the question is now 25 minus 2 times by 9. Now I have subtraction and multiplication. Multiplication needs to happen before the subtraction. So 2 times 9 is 18. So the question is 25 take away 18, and if we count up from 18 to 25, well, it's 2 to get to 20, and then another 5 to 25. 2 plus 5 is 7, so the answer there is 7. Question number 6, we're looking for one that shows negative correlation, so it might be a case of just putting in a line of best fit maybe. A, we can't really put in a line of best fit because these dots are just almost scattered completely randomly, so there is no correlation whatsoever. B, if I do a line of best fit, this is a line that cuts through the center of the dots, trying to keep the dots as close to this line as possible. This line goes up, so this is positive correlation, so not negative. C, if I do a line of best fit, it's going to look something like this, and the line goes down. So yes, that is negative correlation, so the correct answer is C. Let's eliminate D. If I do a line of best fit, it will kind of go through the middle like so. The dots aren't particularly close to the line, but there's still a line that can be drawn, unlike in the first one. So there is positive correlation, it's just not quite as strong as the positive correlation in B, but it's definitely not negative correlation, so I'm going to eliminate that one. So the correct answer is C. Okay, on to question number 7. Lisa makes fudge and sells it on a market stall. She makes fudge using these ingredients, and we know that this is enough fudge for 4 boxes. But Lisa wants to make enough fudge for 48 boxes. So how many times greater than 4 is 48? Well, the calculation is 48 divided by 4, which is 12. So we need to multiply all these ingredients by 12 if we're going to make enough fudge for 48 boxes. So this question is all about the sugar. So what is 12 times by 500 grams? Well, I would see 500 grams as half a kilo. So what is 12 multiplied by half a kilo? What's 12 times a half? That is the same as what is half of 12. So that is 6 kilos. So she needs 6 kilos of sugar, but she's got 1.4 kilos already. So what is 6 take away 1.4? Oops. Well, 6 minus 1 is 5. 5 minus the 0.4 is 4.6 kilos. So she needs to buy 4.6 kilos of sugar. It's sold in 1 kilo bags. If she buys 4 bags, that's not going to be enough. She's going to need to get a 5th bag. So she's going to need 5 bags in total. Hopefully no problem on that one there. Part B is a little bit more tricky. Lisa sells the fudge in 3 flavours, strawberry, vanilla and mint, and these are the number of boxes she sold last week, and this week she's making 48 boxes, and we need to use this data to work out how many boxes of each flavour she should make. So we want to make sure we've got the same proportion of strawberry, vanilla and mint. So first of all, I'm going to work out how many boxes in total were made in the last few weeks. Well, that's 60 plus 140, which is 200, plus 40, which is 240. So that's 240 in total. So what proportion was strawberry? Well, strawberry was 60 out of the total 240, which is the same as 6 out of 24. And we can simplify this fraction. Both numbers are divisible by 6, so that is 1/4. So a quarter was strawberry, so therefore we need to work out what a quarter of 48 is. And that is the same as 48 divided by 4, which is 12. So she needs to make 12 boxes of strawberry. Now for vanilla, it's 140 out of the 240, which can be broken down to 14 out of 24, which is 7/12. So again, we just need, same as before, what is 7/12 of 48? This is a little bit harder maybe. So to calculate a fraction of an amount, we take our total, we divide it by the number on the bottom, then multiply by the number on the top. 48 divided by 12 is 4. 4 times 7 is 28. So therefore, 28 for vanilla. We know that she's making a total of 48 boxes. So far, we have talked about 40 boxes. So what's the difference between 40 and 48? Well, that is 8. Of course, for mint, you could do a similar technique for strawberry and vanilla, but I think just working out how many is left is a lot quicker. 7C, Lisa has to drive 50 miles to the market. The market starts at 9. She needs to arrive at least half an hour before the market starts. Well, why don't we just readjust this to 8:30 and just forget about this altogether. And she leaves home at 7:10. So if she's leaving home at 7:10 to arrive at 8:30, then that is 1 hour and 20 minutes. So 1 hour and 20 minutes. So if she's averaging 40 miles per hour, how far could she drive in 1 hour 20? Is it 50 miles or more? If it's less than 50 miles, then she's going to be late. So in 1 hour at 40 miles per hour, she will cover 40 miles. Now 20 minutes, how many 20s go into 60? 3. So 20 minutes is 1/3 of an hour. So if she does 40 in 1 hour, then in 1/3 of an hour, she will do 40 divided by 3 miles. And 40 divided by 3, well, we can't use a calculator here, so we might need to just use a bus stop here. 4 divided by 3 is 1 with a remainder of 1. 10 divided by 3 is 3 with a remainder of 1. So I'm going to put in a decimal point as I've run out of digits, put in a 0. So that remainder of 1 will sit onto the 0 to create a 10. 10 divided by 3 is 3 with a remainder of 1, put in another 0. So this is going to be 13.3 recurring. So in 1 hour and 20 minutes, she will do 40 miles plus 13.3. So 40 plus 13.3 is 53.3 miles, but she only has to drive 50 miles, and since 50 is less than 53.3, then yes, she is correct, because 50 miles is the distance she needs to drive, but she could actually do 53.3 miles in 1 hour and 20 minutes. So yes, she is correct. Here are the video solutions for AQA Functional Skills Maths Level 2. This is paper 2, which is the calculator paper, and this is their specimen sample paper. Okay, so question number 1 in section A, we need to circle the mode. Now we need to remember that the mode, that is the most frequently occurring number. So as we can see, 6 appears twice, but 8 appears 3 times, so 8 is the mode. For question number 2, you just simply need to type all of this into your calculator display, set up a fraction, and just make sure that the numerator is 9.386 plus 20.904 and the denominator is 2.5. Alternatively, just add together 9.386 plus 20.904, hit equals, and then divide that answer by 2.5. However you do it, you should end up with the answer of 12.116. So in question number 3, the probability of event A happening is 0.15. So what's the probability of it not happening? Well, the probabilities have to add up to 1. There's only 2 possible outcomes. Event A happens or it doesn't happen. So the probability of not happening is 1 minus 0.15, and that is 0.85. So that is our answer. Okay, question number 4. The correct calculation is 260 multiplied by 1.17. Now, if you don't know how percentage multipliers work, let me just explain really briefly. If you're working out 17% of an amount, you would multiply by 0.17. So if you wanted to work out 17% of 260, you multiply 260 by 0.17. This is the basic percentage multiplier for 17%. It's the decimal equivalent of 17%. It is 17 divided by 100. Now, a quicker way to work out how to do an increase is, the slower way is to multiply 0.17 times 260 and then add it on to 260. But a quicker way is simply to add 1 to this percentage multiplier and turn it into 1.17. So that is how you can increase £260 by 17% in one hit. 1.17 times 260. Okay, question number 5, we just need to remember that the number, the word 1,000 is represented by a comma. So let's just focus on 403, put that to the left of the comma, and 720 to the right of the comma. There we go. So that is our answer, 403720. Comma doesn't have to be there, but often putting the comma in makes numbers easier to read. Okay, so first of all, with question number 6, I would turn both of these mixed numbers into improper fractions. So 5 3/4 is the same as how many quarters? It's the same as 5 times 4 plus 3. 5 4s are 20 plus 3 is 23. And we're going to take away how many eighths? Again, let's turn 1 1/8 into an improper fraction. 1 times 8 is 8 plus 1 is 9. Now I can't take away eighths from quarters, but if I turn these quarters into eighths, because 4 is a factor of 8, so 23 over 4 is the same as what over 8? Well, we've doubled the bottom number, so we'll double the top number. So the question is now 46 over 8, take away 9 over 8, and that comes to 37 over 8. And we should probably turn this back into a mixed number. How many 8s go into 37? Well, that is 4. 4 8s are 32, so that's a remainder of 5. So that is 4 5/8. Question number 7, we want to work out the shaded area. So first of all, we just need to think that the shaded area is the big circle, or the area of the big circle, minus the area of the small circle. Now, the formula for the area of a circle is pi r squared. So the big circle is pi times by its radius, which is 8.3 squared. And we're going to take away the area of the small circle, which is pi times by 5.2 squared. And we can type this, we don't need to work out the area separately. A half decent calculator will be able to cope with this in one hit. And pi times 8.3 squared minus pi times 5.2 squared comes to 131.475 5, 6. I believe a range of answers is acceptable here, although I don't really see why it's impossible to get this exact value, and maybe just you want to round it to 1 decimal place. They've not really specified, but 1 decimal place will be fine. More decimal places would be even more fine, I guess, but 131.5 is more than acceptable here. Question number 8, we want a plan view, so we need to remember that the plan view is the view from above. So if we're looking at this from above, like the bird's eye view, we're seeing this square here, this square here, and this square here. So these 3 squares will be in a line, so we'll just have a rectangle, which is 3 by 1. Work out the percentage decrease from 5,200 to 4,108. Well, we need to remember that to calculate a percentage change, whether it's an increase or a decrease, it's the difference divided by the original value multiplied by 100. So what is the difference? 5,200 minus 4,108, that is 1,092. So our calculation is 1,092 divided by what it was originally, 5,200, times by 100, and that comes to exactly 21%. Okay, moving on to section B, we want to work out the area of this playground. Now, there's a couple of ways we could do it. We could turn this horrible looking shape into a rectangle plus another rectangle plus a triangle. Actually, that's probably the easiest way to do it. Another way you could do it is just work out the area of, turn it into one massive rectangle and subtract this triangular corner and this chunk here. But I think if we turn it into 3 bits, let's call this shape A, shape B, shape C. So shape A is a rectangle, which is 16 by 7. And 16 multiplied by 7 is 112, so that's 112 square meters. B is also a rectangle, which is 11 by, but we don't know this distance here, so can we work that out? Well, we know that from here to here is 7, so therefore from here to here is also 7, so this distance here must be 20 take away 7, so this is 13. So 13 multiplied by 11, which is 143 square meters. And C is a triangle. Remember, the area of a triangle is base times by the height divided by 2. So that is 5 times by 7 divided by 2, which is 35 divided by 2, which is 17.5 square meters. So the final calculation is 112 plus 143 plus 17.5. And that comes to a total of 272.5 square meters. On to 10b. So we know here that the mass of the rubber to the mass of the resin is 5 to 1, and we've got 14 kilos of rubber chips. Now, unfortunately, it's a bit of a nasty number. If it was 10 kilos of rubber, then that would obviously be 2 kilos of resin, just double the mass of rubber, so double the mass of resin. If it was 15, it would also be quite easy because that would just be the ratio tripled. So what am I multiplying 5 by to take it to 14? Tough question. Well, the answer is, what is 14 divided by 5? 14 divided by 5 is 2.8, so therefore 5 times by 2.8 is 14. So let's multiply the other side by 2.8 for an equivalent ratio, and that is 2.8. So the resin is 2.8 kilos per square meter. Now, we know from the previous question there's a total of 272.5 square meters, so if I multiply that by 2.8 kg, I've got the mass of the resin that is needed, and that comes to 763 kilos of resin. Now, it says here resin is only supplied in 25 kilo tubs. So how many 25s go into 763? In other words, what is 763 divided by 25? And that comes to 30.52. So this is the exact number of tubs we need, except you can't buy 0.52 of a tub, so we're going to have to round that up to 31. So 31 tubs is the answer. Okay, for this question, we know the scale is 1 to 200, so that means the scale drawing is 200 times smaller than the reality. Reality is 200 times bigger than the scale drawing. Right, so we know that in real life the climbing frame is 6 meters by 6 meters, but I'm going to turn that into centimeters, 600 times by 600, because when I do the scale, it's easier to divide it by 200. Remember, the scale drawing is 200 times smaller. Now 600 divided by 200 is 3, so the climbing frame is going to be a 3 by 3 on the drawing. The swing set, SS, is 10 times 100, so 1000 times 4 times 100, so 400 centimetres in real life. So dividing both numbers by 200, that will mean a 5 by 2 on the drawing. The sandpit, I'll just put SP for sandpit, is a semicircle with a radius of 6 meters, so that is going to be a 600 centimeter radius. So therefore the radius on the scale is going to be 600 divided by 200, which is 3. Just note here it's going to be a semicircle, not a full circle. And the rockers, whatever they are, that's going to be 200 times 200. So on the scale, divide both by 200, that's going to be a 1 times 1. And we need to remember there were 2 of them in total. So let's do the big things first. So we want one 3 by 3 and one 5 by 2. Okay, so let's practice on this grid here. So there's my 3 by 3, there's my 5 by 2. So this was the climbing frame, this was the swing set. Now I'm deliberately chucking it them as close as possible, just in case I can't fit the other objects in. So we need a semicircle with a radius of 3. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 going the other way, and 1, 2, 3 up. Okay, so I need a semicircle that's a fairly poor semicircle, and that is the sandpit. And we want 2 rockers, and the rockers were both 1 by 1, so I can put them wherever I want really. There's one, and there's the other. You can, yeah, anywhere will do. I mean, I could have parked them really tight next to the climbing frame and the swing set. Many possibilities there, but there we go, and we've solved that problem. Okay, question number 11. So for this question, what we need to do first of all is work out the total costs. Now we know 230 people are attending the event, and if the meal is £14.25 per person, then the meal cost is going to be £14.25 times 230, which is 3277.5. So the total costs is going to be the hire of venue 1660 plus the 3277.5 plus the 400 plus the 350, and that comes to a total of 5,627.50. Okay, so that's the total costs. So we want to make 5,000 profit, so therefore we need to add 5,000 to this amount. So £5,000 plus 5,627.50 is 10,627.50. So this is the amount of money we want to make back, and we know 230 people are going. So what we need to do is divide this amount here by 230, and what we get is £46.20652174. So it's up to you at this stage what you think a sensible ticket price would be. £46.21 would seem a bit daft, but £46.50 is kind of a reasonable type of price. You could round it up. We do need to round it up, otherwise we're not making the required amount of profit. 47 would also be an acceptable answer. Maybe you just want to say it's 50 quid and then you're sorted. So any of these answers are perfectly acceptable. So I'll just put it 50 quid. That'll do. Okay, so part B. So we know that if we use North printers, it costs £97.50. So how many 325s go into £97.50? £97.50 divided by £3.25 comes to, let me just grab my calculator very quickly. 97.5 divided by £3.25, that is 30. Okay, so this deal has been done 30 times, so therefore we have 200 times 30 flyers, so in total that is 6,000 flyers. So how much does it cost with speedy printers to do 6,000 flyers? Well, if 1,000 costs £18, then 6,000 is going to be 6 times by £18, and 6 times by 18 is 105. But we get a 12.5% discount. So what is 12.5% of 108? Well, we need to multiply 108 by 0.125. If you're not sure where the 0.125 comes from, that is the percentage multiplier for 12.5%. And I think I talked about percentage multipliers in an earlier question. 0.125 multiplied by £108 is £13.50. So this is the discount. So therefore what we pay is 108 minus £13.50, and 108 take away £13.50 is £94.50. So that is our final answer, £94.50. Okay, and for part C, so we know that 800 raffle tickets are £2 each, and the people on one table spend £110 pounds on raffle tickets. So how many raffle tickets did they buy? Well, if they're £2 each, then what is 110 divided by 2? Well, that is 55. So this table has got 55 raffle tickets out of the total 800. So we just need to work out, well, what is this fraction as a percentage? To convert a fraction into a percentage, it is the top divided by the bottom multiplied by 100, and that comes to 6.875%. Padma tells the people on the table the probability that someone on this table wins the first prize is more than 5%. So Padma is correct because 6.875% is more than 5%. There we go. Okay, on to question number 12. So we know the summary of the data for Eve, range of 15, mean of 41.25, and we've got a frequency table for Stefan. So I imagine we're going to have to work out the range and the mean for Stefan. Let's see what the question is. Stefan says my scores were more consistent, and Eve says on average my scores were higher. Okay, right, so we do need to work out the range for Stefan. So the range is always the biggest, take away the smallest. Now, what we need to be careful of, it's not 4 minus 1. That's just how many times he scored these scores. His lowest score was 37 and his highest score was 43. So the range is going to be 43 take away 37. So the range is 6. So we're comparing a range of 6 to a range of 15. Now, what we need to remember is that the smaller the range, the more consistent. So what this means is that Stefan's scores are more consistent because the range is smaller than 15. So for part A, Stefan says my scores are more consistent. Stefan is correct, and the reason is the range for Stefan, which we can put in brackets is 6, is lower than the range for Eve, which was 15. So remember, the smaller the range, the more consistent. Okay, so Eve says that on average hers were higher, so we need to work out the average for Stefan. Now, Stefan's average score, or his mean score, is going to be the total of all his scores divided by the number of, I don't really know what was going on here, divided by the number of quizzes. So I should read the question. The number of quizzes taken. Okay, the number of quizzes taken is 1 plus 1 plus 4 plus 2 plus 4. One quiz he got 37, one he got 38, 4 he got 40. So frequency here means number of quizzes. So 4 plus 4 is 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So the mean is something divided by 12. Oops, let me just scroll up a little bit there. Okay, so we want his total of all scores. Well, he got 137, he got 38, didn't get any 39s, and he got 4 40s plus 4 times by 40 plus 2 lots of 41s plus 4 lots of 43s. Okay, so if we add all of this up, we get 489 divided by 12, and that is 40.75. So this is the average score, or it's the mean average for Stefan, and Eve got 41.25. Is Evie correct? Eve says on average her scores were higher. So yes, Eve is correct, as her average was, I've forgotten the numbers already, 41.25, and the mean for Stefan was 40.75. Yes, it was 40.75. There we go. And we are done. Okay, part C. Okay, so we know that each question there are 3 options to choose from. So if you're just randomly guessing, you've got a 1 in 3 chance of getting it right. And of course, for the next question, it's also 1/3. So what do? Do we add or do we multiply these fractions? Well, if we were to add them together, we would get 2/3. So, but that would mean that he's more likely to get both right than just one right, which doesn't make sense. So we can't be adding them, so therefore we are multiplying them, because we're expecting the probability to be less, because it's less likely that he's going to get both right than just simply one right. And 1/3 multiplied by 1/3, that is 1/9. So that is the probability that he gets both answers correct. Okay, now on to the final question. Okay, so we've got this irritating looking formula here. Remember, this is the formula for one candle, and we need to make 2,500. So whatever we do, we need to multiply it by 2,500 in the end. Let's get rid of this bit. F is the percentage of fragrance in the candle, and we're told that is 10. So 100, take away 10 over 100, well, that is 90 over 100. So we've got V multiplied by 90 divided by 100 times by 0.83. Now V is the volume, and we know that it's in the shape of a cylinder. Now the formula for the volume of a cylinder is, remember, the volume of any prism is the area of its face multiplied by its depth or its height, which in this case is 15. Now for a cylinder, its face is a circle, and the area of a circle is pi r squared. So it's pi r squared h multiplied by all that stuff up there. So let's just deal with the pi r squared h first of all. So that's pi multiplied by the radius, which is 4 squared, times the height, which is 15, times by 90 divided by 100 multiplied by 0.83. And if you just type all of that into your calculator, you should get 563.22 grams. Now that is for one candle. So for 2,500, it's 563.22 multiplied by 2,500, and that comes to 1408061.827 grams, which is obviously a very big number, so we probably want to convert it into kilos, and we do. So if we just divide this by 1,000, so I'll just put that previous answer here, just to save me writing it again, divided by 1,000, and that comes to 140.061.827. It doesn't tell us how it wants the answer presented, but again, a range of answers is acceptable given that you might have done a bit of rounding earlier on. So why not, let's just call that 1,408 kilos. Question B. This is probably the toughest question in this test, in my opinion. So we've got an original price. The price without VAT, let's just write this down. The price without VAT gets increased by 20% to get £9.60. Now, a 20% increase means we need to multiply by 1.2, and that will give us this amount of £9.60. Now, if you don't know where the 1.2 comes from, the multiplier for 20% is 0.2. We've discussed percentage multipliers before, but for an increase we add 1 to this figure, and 0.2 plus 1 is 1.2. So therefore the price before VAT is going to be £9.60 divided by 1.2. So the price before the VAT is £8. So how much is the VAT? Well, that's simply going to be £9.60, take away the £8, and that is therefore £1.60. Okay, it might have been quite a brief explanation, but that's a very challenging question, and I expect a lot of people would struggle with that one. Okay, C. So the personal allowance means that Maya doesn't pay any tax on the first 11,850 that she earned, just the difference, just the rest, anything above it. So which is going to be the difference between 19,410 minus the allowance of 11,850. And that is a difference of 7,560. So this is her taxable income, and she's taxed at 20%. So 20% of 7,560 is 0.2 multiplied by 7,560, and that comes to 1,512. So that is the amount of income tax she'll pay in a year. So 1,512, and that takes us to the end of the assessment.